Have you ever thought about what the biggest threat to humanity might be? An asteroid? A new pandemic? What if I told you one of the greatest dangers lies right beneath our feet? A ticking time bomb of unimaginable power. I'm talking about supervolcanoes. And history has shown us just how devastating their eruptions can be. Now, when you think of a volcano, you probably picture a classic cone-shaped mountain like Mount Fuji, but a supervolcano is a different beast entirely. It's so massive that you might not even recognize it as a volcano. Think of a huge, sunken caldera, sometimes tens of miles wide, like a giant lid on a pot of boiling magma. Yellowstone National Park in the U.S. is probably the most famous example. It's a beautiful landscape, but it sits on top of a gargantuan magma chamber. To understand their power, let's step back in time. Around 74,000 years ago, a supervolcano in what is now Sumatra, Indonesia, called Toba, let loose an eruption of apocalyptic proportions. This wasn't just some lava and ash. It was one of the largest explosive eruptions in the last 25 million years. It blew an estimated 2,800 cubic kilometers of material into the atmosphere. To put that into perspective, the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens, which was a massive event in itself, ejected about 1 cubic kilometer. Toba was nearly 3,000 times bigger. So what happened to the world after Toba blew its top? The consequences were global and catastrophic. The sheer volume of ash and sulfur dioxide shot into the stratosphere created a thick veil that shrouded the planet, blocking out sunlight. This triggered what's known as a volcanic winter. Global temperatures plummeted by as much as 5 to 15 degrees Celsius. Think of it like a worldwide nuclear winter, but caused by nature itself. For the life on Earth at the time, this was a disaster. The lack of sunlight caused widespread crop failures and the collapse of entire ecosystems. Plants withered and died, and the animals that depended on them starved. The planet was plunged into a harsh, cold, and dim reality that lasted for years, maybe even a decade. The initial volcanic winter was followed by a longer cooling period that could have lasted 1,000 years. For our early human ancestors, this was a close call. Some scientists believe the Toba catastrophe created a genetic bottleneck. This theory suggests that the human population was drastically reduced to just a few thousand individuals, pushing our species to the very brink of extinction. Imagine, all of humanity today potentially descended from this small, resilient group of survivors who endured years of cold, darkness, and starvation. It's a chilling thought that shows how vulnerable we are to the planet's immense power. And Toba wasn't a one-off event. Let's travel even further back to about 640,000 years ago. This is when the Yellowstone supervolcano had its last monster eruption. This event, known as the Lava Creek eruption, was also a planet-altering catastrophe. It ejected about 1,000 cubic kilometers of rock and ash. Ash from this eruption has been found as far away as Mississippi and the Gulf of Mexico. The entire North American continent would have been blanketed in a thick layer of ash, several feet deep in some places. Imagine living in North America at that time. The air would have been unbreathable, choked with fine, glassy particles of volcanic ash that would shred the lungs of any animal that inhaled it. Water sources would be contaminated, turning into a toxic slurry. And just like with Toba, the sun would have been blocked out, triggering a volcanic winter that would have devastated life across the globe. These historical events aren't just fascinating stories from a geology textbook. They are stark warnings. They teach us that our planet has the power to reset life on a global scale. A super eruption today would be an unimaginable disaster. Think about our modern, interconnected world. The initial eruption would be devastating for anyone nearby, but the secondary effects would be global. First, the ash cloud. It would ground all air travel worldwide, instantly crippling global transport and trade. Supply chains would collapse. We wouldn't be able to ship food, medicine, or essential goods. Then comes the agricultural collapse. The volcanic winter, even a less severe one, would lead to global crop failures. Widespread famine would be almost inevitable. Our entire global civilization is built on a delicate balance, and a super eruption would shatter it. The economic fallout would be immediate and total. Markets would crash, governments would be destabilized, and our complex societies would be pushed to their limits. It would be a struggle for survival on a scale we've never seen in modern history. The ash in the atmosphere would also mix with water vapor to create acid rain, which would contaminate soil and water supplies for years, making recovery even more difficult. So, why am I telling you all this? Is it to scare you? Not at all. It's about perspective. It's about understanding the immense, humbling power of the natural world we live in. We often feel like we've conquered nature with our technology, but events like Toba and Yellowstone show us that we are merely guests on this incredibly dynamic and powerful planet. The good news is that super eruptions are extremely rare. Geologists are constantly monitoring active volcanic systems like Yellowstone with an array of sophisticated instruments. They track ground deformation, seismic activity, and gas emissions, looking for any sign that the sleeping giant might be stirring. This gives us the best possible chance of getting a warning, maybe years or even decades in advance, if an eruption were becoming likely. This knowledge empowers us. It drives scientific research and encourages us to think about long-term survival strategies and global cooperation. It reminds us that for all our differences, we all share one home, and we face these ultimate threats together. The lessons from the past aren't meant to fill us with fear, but with respect for our planet and a determination to understand it better. It's a reminder to appreciate the relatively calm and stable world we live in today. So the next time you look at a beautiful landscape, remember the incredible forces that shaped it and the history hidden beneath your feet. It's a story of destruction, but also of resilience and the incredible tenacity of life. Thanks for joining me on this journey into Earth's explosive past. If you found this fascinating, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into our amazing world, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. See you next time.